Well, we'll get a chance to see what it is that they do want to do differently here, totally. We got picks and bans ready for game 2. Let's see what it is that they try to prioritize here, as Elevate are going to be picking first here, and what they decide to try and get here first.
It seems that, that's been the focus point for not just PC side, but console as well. Whenever a team loses, you want that first pick. You want to be able to dictate the strategy and get some early game momentum control.
Yeah, and I know Elevate really likes Ymir in either the jungle or the solo lane. I would really like to see them top 3 pick Ymir, because they do well on that. And plus, it's good for, if oBoronic does elect to go for the Hebo again, wall off the Hebo. oBoronic likes to play some of these mages like that. They ban out the Raijin there, obviously, so that could pose no threat to the Ymir. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them lock in a Ymir here in the top 3 for Elevate.
Something we didn't see was actually Ymir banned away either by SB, so that's not a strategy that they necessarily are afraid of, or maybe they didn't see it in the tapes. But either way, still banning away Odin, that provides a similar status as Ymir, just a little bit of a longer cooldown.
That Odin, we have not been able to see that make it through yet. No one wants to have to deal with him or that cage in any of these games. Kakalen, on the other hand, this is a bit of a change-up. We're seeing him get banned out when last time, actually, it was DoctorL, I believe, who picked that one up. So this time, taking that away.
And it was actually Elevate that first picked Osiris and then picked Kakalen after the Thor Hui from Strictly Business. It seems that Elevate, they're not going to first pick Kakalen, so therefore they're going to ban it away.
Yeah, and that's interesting because they left the Kakalen up for SB to pick, and SB picked Thor. So, I mean, maybe Elevate's just not, they think SB might run it this game. They're just not that confident in it on their squad, but interesting ban.
I think they're going to probably first pick Hui here. The way it was being able to be executed by Fatal Ghost was really obnoxious for Elevate to handle. It's going to be the Osiris, actually, yet again. And, it wasn't the worst performance in the world for Elevate, but I still think that the Hui would have been a slightly more optimal pick.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost was on a tear on that Hui, so, Hui is one of the top gods, top hunters right now, so I would have liked to see that taken away for sure.
And we didn't even get much time to talk about it, but I mean, Ryan Jarman had an excellent game last time, too. I mean, the taunt on Erlang Shen, he was doing a lot of disruption in the back line, a big part of why we weren't getting as much out of that Zeus pick as well as they wanted. So, certainly could be a hard time trying to get a good matchup up against him. But, I mean, hey, back to the Thor, back to the Hui, why not?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And, I mean, if you're Elevate, they just had such success with this comp. I mean, you let them get the same 2 picks that were really integral in making that comp succeed. I don't know if I like the pick ban phase here so far for Elevate.
Well, last time they picked Kakalen and Zeus in this position, but with Kakalen banned, maybe they're going to take away some other options. Erlang Shen could be picked, maybe taking that away.
Erlang Shen taking that away would be a good option here. It was something that they like we just got through saying, let Ryan Jarman do too well on, I feel like, in that last game. So try and limit his effectiveness. I mean, especially if you're going to have that Osiris over there. I mean, it's already something that can give you some pressure. That's going to limit a little bit of what they could do, though. Taking that Habwa away from, I believe it was oBoronic who had that, limit him some of his options.
And being able to also take this Muzen cob is really surprising here. These are 2 backliners that could potentially get focused here. Now, last time, it was SB that ran Hui in Habwa. Now, even though Hebo doesn't have a natural escape minus his ultimate, he's using that carpet to get away. But Hui can self-peel for himself between his jump, between the slows, between the mark and the stun. A Muzen cob, he has a slow and a cripple. That's not the same compared to a Hui.
Yeah, no, and Hui is decent into AMC for the fact that he can just simply ult the AMC and, either stun him inside of it, or you get the AMC beads for free, and then that opens it up for a Thor gank. And also, Thor, not too bad at a Hebo. I mean, his 3 is knock-up immune, so Hebo not going to be able to knock the Thor up when he's spinning. So Thor really a solid first pick into Elevate's composition.
More importantly is being able to really time those tectonic rifts against the Habwa ultimate, really making sure that you limit a lot of that damage burst.
And last time, what we saw do so well for that Habwa was a lot of control. And that's something Elevate's a little bit light on right now since they've gone with their carries early. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, we see something along those lines totally that might be prioritized for him. I mean, we saw Mad Koiz setting up for it almost every one of those plays.
And there's going to be more bans probably making sure that Thor is going to get off that Berserker barrage. So banning away CaMeRxN against DoctorL. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see a Ymir ban.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ymir ban. And this composition by SB, I believe it was Luminosity versus Space Station at Super Regionals when Barracuda had the AMC, and Space Station had Thor, Hui, and Ganesha. and Barracuda was like 0-9 at one point. So I think Cameron needs to be very, very careful about how he plays in the duo lane, because they have a lot of ways to pick him off. You know, the Ganesha ult to force beads, Hui ult to force beads, Thor ult to force beads. He has to be very careful over there in the duo lane.
I mean, whether it's ranked games or SPL games, Barracuda is not a stranger to getting focus fired here. So, I mean, that is an aggressive composition, though, no doubt about it. Thor Global, Hui, and Ganesh. Ganesh alone as a support is probably the most offensive-oriented support if I were to put my money on it, especially with that ability of his to not only clear the wave, but just augment the rest of your team's damage.
And they do take away some of those safer options in the Guardian role, do strictly business. CaMeRxN and Geb have both been taken away, but Elevate, they're trying to take away that Erlong Shen there, make sure that Ryan Jarman can't have that one available to him in their second ban phase, and they still have one more ban here to go to.
It seems that way, and I think that they were going to focus out the solo lane a little bit more often with this Erlong Shen ban. It is going to be the Thoth, surprisingly enough, and that's not a bad idea considering just how much range that god provides.
Yeah, and Thoth is definitely a comfort pick for oBoronic. I mean, his god pool is one of the widest in the console scene, so taking away a god that can carry a game single-handedly like Thoth, I like the ban.
Kaeydan feeling very comfortable. It's like, yep, I got my Thor. I'm good. Let's start the game. Let's get this 2-0.
Raijin still available in that mid lane, but it's going to be Janus is the pick here for strictly business. Janus don't get to see a whole lot of, but bringing in even more mobility for him in that mid lane.
That's what it seems to me, at least. You know, not having the Athena here quite yet because they substituted that out for Ganesh, but still having two global presences with Janus.
Yeah, and oBoronic is one of the only mid laners that will even touch Janus on the console side. So, and his Janus is very good. So I like the pick for SB. It just makes them all that much more mobile. And Janus can be very, play more like an assassin, you know, look to focus out the Hebo without the Hebo even seeing him. So it's going to be hard. But if the Hebo can isolate the Janus, it would be good for Elevate. But oBoronic's positioning is always very good on this Janus, and I expect a big game from him.
Whoever's going to be trying to go through that portal is going to be the bullseye target for Elevate's mid lane, or trying to find the knockups before entering the portal is that small timing key window that can mean the difference of finding a kill or getting away.
Elevate spending a little bit of time thinking about where they want to go, and where they choose to go is with the Guan Yu pick along with Neith. So a couple picks we don't get to see, you know, a whole lot of, but I mean, Guan Yu, are they focusing a little bit more towards sustain here again? Tell me what you're thinking here with this, Zaxi.
Yeah, I mean, I know Kenshin likes Guan. He likes the healers. He likes the Sylvanas. He likes the Guans. But for me, I'm looking at Elevate's composition, and it is 4 physical, but you do have the Hebo. So that, I mean, that is, you know, that's enough magic damage to go around, but really no real peel I'm seeing for the AMC. Guan Yu not the best god at peeling, more of a, you know, a backline diver, and then he'll come back and heal, but not much in the way of peel. Picking
Guan Yu into Ganesh, your Talu Assault is going to get instantly disrupted by that and I just don't really see the synergy for Elevate in team fights, in the straight up 5-on-5 team fights. Guan Yu's going to try to peel in the backline, probably just heal his teammates nonstop repeatedly because he's not going to get the damage off.
Hercules was that last pick for strictly business, so giving Ryan Jarman something else to look good on here. But now we got both these comps figured out. We're just about ready to get it over there. Let me get your final thoughts on who you got here, Toli.
Just plain and simple, SB all the way.
SB all the way. What about you, Zaxi?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go with SB.
All right, well, over here on the desk, we're feeling SB. What about our casters?
The desk is united on strictly business, and it's looking pretty strong for him. It's not often that you see Guan Yu, Neith, Amuz, and Cobb hobble in the same game, let alone on the same team.
For me, it's just the concern of the 4 physicals, really, from Elevate. Osiris, AMC, sure, that can provide a lot of initial upfront damage, but for the Neith, this is purely a pick that you choose for setup, and really one of the only forms of hard crowd control that Elevate has to offer, aside from that water spout from the Habois. Guan Yu, you have to invest your ultimate if you want to have that stun come online for setup, but there's just so much crowd control across the way from strictly business. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Elevate to keep this game in their control.
4 Bumbas start as well here for Elevate coming down, everyone. A lot of Bluestones Bumbas going through, but we have the Guan Yu support, which is one that has been tried and true. We've seen it through years of Smite. And I always have flashbacks to the launch tournament for what you can see out of this, but it still can have a large impact. But like you said, and was mentioned on the desk, the Talu Assault and the damage, the 4 physical, everything that's coming out for Elevate, has an answer on Strictly Business. They're already up one game, but this is actually a good time for Elevate to try and change it up and see if they can push themselves ahead, even if it does seem off.
Although this is an even more perfect time for Strictly Business to not afford any mistakes. They want to walk away from this set with a clean 2-0 for those 3 points. More points you get early on, the better off you're going to be as the land progresses. And Kenshin actually a little bit of trouble here, but Ryan Jarman going to take just as much poke from Nexamiss.
And not exactly the best position to go in, although going in right now, Fatal Ghost was looking for it. They take the red buff, even if they don't leave with the kill onto Cameron. And this is where Muzen Cobb, normally you would think, hey, he's got really strong early clear. He can hold on a little bit, but if he gets taken down, it's just not going to work that way for him. And right now, the jungle being dominated by Strictly Business for the left-hand side, dominated on the right by Elevate.
It's just a sacrifice that SB chose to make. They knew that they wanted to invade Cameron on that dual lane side, and they were able to strip away the purple and red buffs for it, but that just left their solo lane jungle completely wide open.
I saw the lineup, and it did not register until just now that is DoctorL playing the Habwa in the jungle, which is going to be fun to see because we just saw what oBoronic could do with him in the mid lane, but at the same time, not as much utility as you're going to see out of Kaeydan.
And normally I am all for Habwa jungle and spicing things up, but for DoctorL, making this work against the Thor when he already has immunity from your knockup because of his spin to win, that's going to be difficult for DoctorL as opposed to what I think Mythic maybe would have been able to get out of just the sheer damage potential and throwing in a different sort of jungler.
And Neith mid is kind of in that same rope where it's something that we haven't seen in a while, and I actually think it's going to be different going up against the Janus, just because Janus is not necessarily known for how hard he hits early on, although as time ticks on, they kind of swap. Right now, Neith is going to have an advantage, but the later it gets, it's called a shotgun for a reason.
We're very accustomed to seeing double hunter compositions by now, but we're not used to seeing them run with the concept of, hey, guys, let's just try and deal damage early. And that's really all that Elevate has going for them, is they can kind of put up the numbers early on, but as far as keeping that pressure going later, that's going to be a completely different tale.
Dharmic Pillars they had a point put into him and immediately came out. Didn't really get anything out of it, so Koiz is going to end up not having his ultimate available for just a little bit coming through. But Fatal Ghost still has the Sun's oBoronic, now has through space and time to be able to shoot that across the map. And this is just a good setup overall for Strictly Business to start making those initiations, especially as we see Kaeydan kind of join the fray with the ultimate.
For a Hui, though, to already be level 5, Cameron's kind of just going to be left to suffer in this dual lane by himself. Koiz probably wishing he still held on to those Dharmic Pillars, could have potentially gotten the slow off onto Cameron and then looked for some aggression, followed up with Fatal Ghost ultimate, but those Suns not going to be able to catch that AMC while his purification beads are up.
I really appreciate that Elevate has recognized where their weaknesses are in their composition, and they've put over Kenshin to just kind of hang out with Nexamiss. They're sitting over there in the solo lane together. We're going to see the double tap come through, damage going down, DoctorL's getting low, and that is going to be a dangerous combo that Elevate are going to have to kind of keep themselves aware of.
Portal just a little bit late there from oBoronic, focused on getting that unstable vortex damage out first and foremost. Mythic, though, sitting with that Neith ultimate charge. He's ready to start up an initiation. SB just want to defend their buffs, and it's going to be a brawl out here.
Koiz being the one who's mostly caught out through space and time, going to get shot down to try and spread some of the damage. Boulder coming through, as well as we see Strictly Business looking for this fight pushed against the wall is DoctorL, but now they're on the retreat. They just drop so much in and have nothing really to show for it. In fact, the health bars on the side of Elevate look untouched, and Ryan Jarman pays for all of that aggression.
Kaeydan able to connect with the double tap, but it does not matter. The speed buff most likely going to go in favor of Elevate. No, actually. SB able to successfully defend their own buff, but DoctorL still able to get that first blood thanks to that setup from Mythic.
Kaeydan still looking for some blood to come through, at least something to try and turn it around. Some damage, anything, try to get that buff back, although this time he's not going to be successful. And Strictly Business will watch as that one goes away. They lose the first blood, they lose their blue buff. Now they're going to lose the Fire Imps following up on that. And this is where Elevate can shine. They've got themselves that small lead, and if they can continue to push it, they can find themselves more and more after.
But is it really a lead? It doesn't feel like a lead for Elevate despite getting that first blood. The farm is actually in favor of SB because of that dual lane dominance, and oBoronic as well. While that entire engagement is happening, he threw out his ultimate through space and time, wasn't able to find anybody, and you know what he did immediately after? He just farmed.
Yeah. And we saw, I mean, Fatal Ghost, like, the Suns came down. He used them. He was nowhere near the fight. He wasn't even in a 1v1. But that's kind of the strength of Hu Yi. He throws that down because he knows he's probably not going to be getting into an engagement with Cameron where he's necessarily going to need that, especially when he's 2 levels ahead. He's just trying to get the farm faster to make sure that it can't get taken away from him by anyone on Elevate, and setting that up to the point where, like you said, they're sitting up. It's a little under 1,000, but when you lose first blood and you're still down by about 1,000, or you get first blood and you're still down by about 1,000, that's not a comfortable spot to be sitting in when you have a very early game oriented composition.
The first 10 minutes are the most important for Elevate because of this specific draft. And if they had maybe a little bit more of a mix-up, another mage even, like a Kraken or something, but it just seemed as though they're taking a huge risk and hoping it pays off.
Right now, we're going to see the World Weaver come through, and Ryan Jarman again being the one who gets picked on as Elevate just come on through, but up into the sky goes Kaeydan, comes crashing down, not going to be able to find the stun, spin to win coming through, trying to spread the damage down, and does get the hit that he needs to be able to trade that out 1-for-1 jungle for solo. And right now, it feels like Strictly Business, they're going to be okay with that trade.
A smart response from SB, at least able to find that return kill onto DoctorL, which means that Kaeydan's going to be able to farm up while DoctorL is waiting to respawn. And it always hurts whenever your solo laner falls victim to 3 ultimates, but there's only so much time that Ryan Jarman can buy when he's getting hit by that World Weaver and having to worry about Neith every single step of the way.
And that's the one thing Neith has always been able to provide, is that small, I can hit you even when I'm not there. I can at least change the tide of the fight, give my team a stun, something to impact it and change the flow of it. So when we see that come through, I expect Mythic will be joining that. I'm going to just sit around and farm. The most you can rely on is my ult.
I actually really do love the idea behind having this Neith mid. I think that she's actually underplayed probably to behold that thought, though. Cameron just trying to run away right now from Fatal Ghost. Oof. He was hit by the Stinger, and I think that's actually what managed to save Cameron's life, was Fatal Ghost not being able to immediately follow up with his jump.
Well, there's 4 members on top of Ryan Jarman. He's going to die, but now there's 3 members of Strictly Business on top of the Gold Fury, and Cameron does not, either he doesn't know about it or he just does not want to go in because he knows that that would mean his life. So yes, you get a kill on the solo laner. In fact, you're even going to be able to take a couple buffs away. But is it going to be worthwhile? They go for the tower, but ultimately the farm's still in favor of Strictly Business.
Elevate, they have to get this T1 tower to try and compensate a little bit for losing that Gold Fury. There's so much emphasis onto Ryan Jarman, and you just got to question, is it really worth it just to montage this Hercules over and over again? He might be 0-3, but Nexamiss doesn't have that massive of a lead just because of the fact that there's been 3 or 4 members splitting that single wave of experience, splitting that kill every single time.
And at this point, I mean, he's Hercules. Like, he doesn't necessarily need a great slash line coming through. He just needs to get tanky and then come into the front line later on. The Boulder still going to hit you pretty hard during those team fights. He's still going to have the control, the knock-up, the push, everything that he's going to really need. Being 0-3, it shuts down that right-hand side, at least for a little bit, but he's not worried about it as the game goes on.
And Elevate, again, just ensuring that they're trying to put some kind of pressure. I do understand, because we already mentioned it, the first 10 minutes, the most important for them. They have to find these early kills and hope to snowball with it, although Cameron just pushed up a little bit too far. Wasn't even that far when you think about it, but it doesn't matter. Kaeydan more than happy to clean him up.
Comes through, does exactly what was mentioned on the desk. When you see that kind of lineup on the other side, you do not expect to live long as an Muzen Cobb. DoctorL trying to come up and make up for the lack of the ADC presence here and get some of the farm that is going to be missed otherwise, and so they can try to find that for Elevate. But what was 3-1 is now 3-2, and it's still 2,000 gold in favor of Strictly Business as they continue to push this advantage and kind of turn Elevate on their head.
Having that Gold Fury timer is going to be really important for SB, because now they know that they can actually afford to respond to Ryan Jarman maybe a little bit earlier, prevent him from going down as quickly as he has been. Again, that's just what tends to happen whenever you're Hercules trying to absorb Neith, Habwa, Osiris, and Guan ultimates.
Yeah, it's hard when everything gets thrown at you as a solo laner, even when you are Hercules. Later on, he'll probably eat that up happily for his team, but as it is right now, DoctorL is going to be the one who's taking that aggression through space and time, not going to connect, and we do see World Weaver coming through to get the stun down on the Fatal Ghost. He's sitting under half health, trying to run away, and with that dive bomb, will be able to keep himself safe behind his own lines. as it seems like Elevate just don't want to full commit on this just yet.
And through space and time is probably one of the best tools that Strictly Business has in their arsenal for the disengage, and making sure to put it to good use. A Fatal Ghost able to avoid any of that damage after taking the portal from Cameron and just jumps away to safety.
Ryan Jarman again in a position where he's fighting this time Nexamiss, but 10-10 and coming down behind. Misses the stun from Kaeydan, but at least gets the body down to get the fight going as he comes in. But Nexamiss looking to get away. The route through the wall onto oBoronic, at least from Mythic, is going to stop Strictly Business from getting in a position to try and burst down that last little bit of health. And now Elevator taking advantage of that push. They're going in as well for that tier 1 tower on the left-hand side.
And that was just a slight punish there against SB. Really smart of Elevate to take full advantage of the fact that Strictly Business just had so many bodies on the opposite side of the map. They were trying to defend that speed buff, trying to defend Ryan Jarman's life, and because of it, Strictly Business are going to have to forfeit their T1 tower and duo.
And they do successfully defend their solo laner at least, so they don't get the speed buff. They don't end up keeping all the towers they would have wanted intact. And that was something you had mentioned, was saying, well, they know the timer on the Gold Fury, they can go over there. But was it really worth, like, I mean, it's always going to be worth keeping them alive, but they kind of still lost.
The main advantage I think that Elevate does have in their composition is that DoctorL is by far better objective secure in comparison to oBoronic, who might have to invest through space and time. You never really want to invest that Janus ultimate for secure, and Unstable Vortex isn't really that much of a guarantee either in comparison to how much damage a Hubwa can put out. So that's one thing that SB are certainly going to have to keep in mind on this Gold Fury respawn when they're looking to try and secure that objective, or even if they look to take the Portal Demon. Elevate, as long as DoctorL is alive, he can always just stay lurking around the corners for the steal.
Well, 12 minutes in, slightly under 2,000 gold, actually approaching more to close to 1,500 gold for Strictly Business. And this is Elevate, I think, finally hitting their stride as they kind of break through and eat away what Strictly Business was able to adapt to. It's, as they come into the mid-game, it definitely seemed like they've kind of fit to where their comp wants to be. And while those first 10 minutes were important for them, it seems like these next 5 are definitely going to be the one that sets the pace for them.
And SB2 members have already elected to pick up that Stone of Gaia. That boost of the 400 health, really important, because I'm kind of anticipating some physical defense to be stacked up pretty soon here on Matt, Koiz, and Kaeydan as well. Cameron, meanwhile, trying to avoid that knockup, but unable to do so successfully. But now it's going to be Fatal Ghost, actually, who's in a lot of trouble here.
Up into the sky goes Kaeydan, comes crashing down. Still not going to find the stun, but he's finding the damage that he needs for his team. The suns are dropped to be able to spread some slows. DoctorL going to be the first to fall, but gets traded out as Cameron picks up Fatal Ghost, going 1-for-1 ADC for jungle. And Elevate are perfectly fine dropping that Hubwa. Knows he's not going to be able to get out of all of these engagements alive, but they do lose a very big objective secure right around the time the Gold Fury came up.
Nexamiss, though, still trying to cause some trouble in the back line, and now it's actually going to be Elevate pulling the Gold Fury first. Ryan Jarman has made his appearance, though, pushes Nexamiss back towards the rest of his team, and Kaeydan able to catch him out with the Thor stun as well. And that shell pop, actually, huge win there for SB.
Being able to kind of push back Elevate and at least keep control, recognizing that the Gold Fury pit is not where they want to take this fight. They're a little bit low on mana. They don't have as much of a grasp on it as they would want. To full commit here, they're going to be able to fall back. Now, only 2 minutes have really passed since the last time I updated the time, but 14 minutes in, Elevate are definitely hitting their stride. I mean, they're finding what they need to. It's not exactly the way they would want it. It's going kind of back and forth. They did lose DoctorL, but they're adapting.
That last little skirmish, though, is a primary example of damage versus control. Yeah. SB being the ones with a lot more crowd control, meaning that they have way more opportunities to keep re-engaging, disengaging, and it just makes things a little bit easier. Speaking of which, now Cameron actually tracked aside those Darwin Pillars, forced to use his Purification Beads just to try and get away.
And Guan Yu, much like Hachiman earlier, has a horse so he can get on out of there, no problem. But you lose an ultimate there coming out from Kenshin, and not used aggressively, one of their best forms of CC. And the World Weaver comes through to hit Kaeydan. I think it was aimed at oBoronic, but it's just not going to have the impact over there in mid, trying to keep them pushed back or find the tower. Either way, Elevate are definitely going to turn their sights onto the Gold Fury. And they do now have DoctorL, who could burst it down with his ult.
but it seems as though Elevate's a little bit distracted here. Knockback going to be missed. Ryan Jarman off the mark with that driving strike. Hopefully Kaeydan can land his ultimate on the backside, and 3 stunned out already.
Kaeydan not going to be able to have any follow-up with that as Nexamiss is pushing back. Strictly business. They find the kill on oBoronic. Nexamiss is going to be pushed himself, but he's between 3 and Fatal Ghost is low. He just wants to fight, and he's going to keep going. DoctorL finds that one as they continue pushing forward, and Koiz falls almost immediately afterward, keeping 5 members alive. They heal it up. They take that damage, and they're going to turn their sights onto the Gold Fury once again.
That was the brawl that Elevate needed to happen. They're finally able to utilize this high-pressure composition early on before all the physical defense starts happening. And Kaeydan actually choosing to teleport into 4 members from Elevate. You're going to get punished for that one, pal.
I admire it. I always admire attempting to try and steal it. Maybe not in that scenario. 3 of your teammates are dead. They just died. You had a lead going into it, and that ends up putting you down. Now, Thor going to be sitting in the timeout box for another 20 seconds as it stands right now, but that opened up the Portal Demon as we see Elevate rotate on over. They take one objective, they take a fight, and they're going to push it as far as they can to find themselves the lead they needed.
And with the Portal Demon falling shortly after, partially due to the fact that there just weren't enough members from SB on the map in time to try and respond. One quick, swift movement from the Gold Fury straight to the portal makes that a lead now in favor of Elevate, and more importantly, just kind of catches them up with XP.
Now they're setting up in good positions to continue fighting. Actually, Worldweaver going to come through with the blink from DoctorL, trying to get oBoronic through space and time used just to disengage, but they find what they want. They get an ult for an ult, and honestly, Worldweaver is definitely worth that global repositioning coming down, and they find themselves a tower immediately afterward. Elevate looking to swing this in. 17 minutes in, they have 8-3, and they're potentially sieging this tier 2 in the mid lane.
Not going to be able to get it for free, though, it seems. Everybody else from SB has finally made that rotation into the mid lane, and they're going to be able to push Elevate back, but Mythic, as soon as that Worldweaver is back up and running, you can imagine that he's probably going to be looking to brawl one more time, and Nexamiss actually with a great steal there onto Kaeydan's speed buff.
And forcing Kaeydan up into the air, whether he comes crashing down onto Elevate or ends up falling back is the question. He goes in between 3, the boulder comes through, although it's not going to connect with anyone. Kaeydan forced to fall back, and Strictly Business, that was not a clean engagement from them.
No, but it was a pretty safe disengage at least. Kaeydan was able to teleport over the wall thanks to that Thor hammer and the Dharmic Pillars peel as well from Koiz, but now they're not going to have those ultimates available to try and defend on this T2 tower in solo, and Mythic's ultimate is almost back up.
And being able to come right back in tier 2 now on the right-hand side as they come in. Koiz actually not going to have the silence. The Suns are dropped to try and spread the damage around. The knockup's going to be good, Ryan Jarman, but he's not going to be able to get the push. Cameron staying alive through that, and with the Suns now being off board, Elevator looking to try and heal up using the Guan heal and potentially continue sieging, but they want to fall back. It's kind of dangerous to sit this far up this long.
Just not enough sustain for Elevate quite yet to make it feasible to keep sieging that T2 tower, but Portal Demon again, they have the timer for that. They know that they've got a slight experience on gold lead over Strictly Business. They're able to strip away those jungle buffs, so as long as Elevate keep playing their draft in this manner, it should work out for them.
And speaking of timers, would you say that Elevate at this point kind of have one going against them with the 4 physical comp as items come online? Do you think Strictly Business, as they pick up that protections, is going to start shutting them down?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind about that. They are definitely playing against the clock right now. This is, I hate to reference it, but very similar to when Luminosity ran that 4 physical, I believe, and they were basically playing against the clock, trying to close the game out. Usually around that 26 to 30 minute mark is when everybody has enough items to try and combat 4 physicals because of all the defenses, and that's when things will become a lot more difficult for Elevate.
They have just a little bit of a window right now to try and interact with that and get themselves a much bigger lead as it is right now. Gold is pretty much negligible. There's about 500, so everybody on Elevate is sitting with 100 more overall in comparison to Strictly Business as they try to spread it. But the Gold Fury is coming back up in about a minute. Portal Demon soon after that one. And that's where Elevate were able to kind of swing their first big lead. And if they can follow that up with some towers, then they can definitely find themselves another one.
Neith as well, Mythic completely understands. He is pure utility at this point. He opted for that Jotun's Wrath, so just that 20% cooldown reduction on top of the Transcendence. He just wants power and pen to help his team with that initial damage setup for DoctorL's follow-up.
And much as though we used to see Kronos as the magical hunter, Neith is really the physical mage coming in, especially with this kind of build and this kind of playstyle. Ryan Jarman once again caught out, once again stunned out, once again killed out, as Mythic is going to get credit for that one. And another spill for the solo laner. 0-4-0. Even the 3 kills that Strictly Business have been able to put up, he hasn't been able to impact.
And DoctorL with a great time Talbois ultimate, get him out of danger. Kaeydan unable to teleport over the wall, forced to use the Aegis, trying to take those portals to safety. DoctorL, though, not ready to give him up, and Nexamiss also able to disengage safely off of Strictly Business's backline.
Kaeydan, perfect pathing to at least get him out of there alive. Unfortunately, it still leaves Elevate in a very strong position to have a hold on the map. We see Strictly Business and Elevate both sweep their way over here to the left side of the map. Koiz trying to spot out if the Gold Fury is going to be started. The question is, what can you do about it as a lone elephant? He's going to be trying his best to poke them out, but there's 4 members of Elevate ready. Fatal Ghost, oBoronic, they're going to be joining in, and they're going to not grab that one away. Elevate are able to confirm that just before they make it there.
And now Elevate, again, just trying to build up this lead. It's climbed up to 2,200 gold lead, which still isn't significant enough to call this one a home run for Elevate, but Strictly Business definitely getting a little bit concerned now at how much of the map pressure they've actually had to give up.
As time goes on as well, really Elevate at this point, I can see like not only the Jotans, but I'm pretty sure I'm starting to see some Titan Banes focused as well, which is the exact items you're going to need when you recognize on the other side. All they have to do is build up some protections and we start doing less. We just need to eat through those. And so Elevate kind of recognizing that they have a timer imposed on themselves, but they at least are playing it very well to keep themselves ahead and ready for it.
And that World Weaver is going to start dealing 6 to even maybe upwards of 800 damage by itself. And when you're looking at something that's meant as a pure stun out or just an actives burner, Mythic's set himself in a great position here by not falling behind for starters. And he keeps hiding behind walls on top of that every time he's charging that ult.
Makes it hard to spot out and hard to call out when you're on the side of Strictly Business, which is the perfect way to have a stun that is coming across the world for you. And as it stands right now, DoctorL, you can see kind of the accompanying position. Call out comes through. I'm going to ult DoctorL immediately. I'm going to follow up on this. I'm going to put myself in a position to knock up, to water spout, to do whatever damage I need to do in order to confirm that kill. But Elevate, they're not looking for every single fight. They're looking for a Portal Demon right now. But here comes Ryan Jarman, who hasn't had the best run. And that's going to be the call for the Portal Team. And they actually got Kaeydan up into the air as well.
And Kaeydan actually using that third ability of the Thor spinning to avoid that knockup from DoctorL. Portal Demon, though, already under half. It's going to be leashed back again with a Blink engage from DoctorL.
Good beads from Kaeydan keeps him alive a little bit, but then the stun comes through from Mythic. It's going to be able to confirm the kill. Nexamiss all alone. Ryan Jarman trying to steal away that Portal Demon, but not going to be successful in doing so. Elevate pick that one up, grab themselves yet another objective, and turn their eyes immediately onto the Fire Giant. This is either going to pull Strictly Business out into their domain, which is exactly what looks like is happening to Matt Koiz as he's forced to run away, but the stun's coming through. DoctorL trying to get all of that damage and set it up. The stun coming through from the Guan. The Suns might push Elevate back, but they gained the ground they needed.
Another sprint and another shell just means a clean disengage one more time for Elevate, except they have that Portal Demon to their advantage. They can back and come right back into this Fire Giant pit, maybe even look to pull it again. Matt Koiz can't stick around for too long. He just wants to clear out the ward. He's going to find Cameron instead, and Cameron's actually willing to invest onto this.
No teammates around. The Elephant will end up living overall, but that's just because Elevate wants something a little bit bigger than the Elephant right now. The Fire Giant is going to be their main target, and when it comes down to being able to continue pushing down these towers, nothing is going to help augment that more than the Fire Giant, especially when you have the double Hunter run you can go through, and those towers are going to be scared of the damage running at them.
And Fatal goes electing to back right in front of his T2 tower. Call has already been made for SB. They don't want to try and fight into the Fire Giant pit. They recognize that they've been losing all of these jungle engagements. They actually have a solid hold composition as well for their Phoenix defense between the Dharmic Pillars and the Suns out of Fatal Ghost.
Muzen Cobb right now, Cameron is going to be hitting so hard with the Fire Giant, with the build, the levels that he's managed to accrue, as well as the fact that he has the Hives always ever present, helping him out, just hit a little bit harder and a little bit faster coming through. So definitely going to be keeping an eye out on the 3-1-0 Hunter right now for Elevate, as they're potentially looking again to siege down this mid-tier 2, but it's really hard to find an opening. Even with the Fire Giant, you don't want to fight into this just yet.
Elevate, their main issue is they've got a lot of damage right now since they were able to build up some of that snowball for their carries, but can't really absorb too much of it. Relying solely on Nexamiss and Kenshin to absorb the brunt of the damage is going to be pretty hard to make happen.
Dharmic Pillars thrown down, not going to really afford much except for zoning, keeps Elevate from coming in. Kaeydan still hanging around on the side, much like what we saw in the last game, waiting for the opportune time to either wall or go up into the sky and come crashing down to try and change the fate for his team. But the problem is there's not really a good spot. The grouping, even from Elevate, is just not close enough for him to have that impact.
And through space and time, going to take a nice little chunk out of Nexamiss, but that's about it. And T2 and mid lane going to go in favor of Elevate. Just another 1,500 gold for the team to add to their pockets. And most of these members are already approaching that 5th item slot.
I do prefer watching Strictly Business not throw away their lives for a tier 2, but at the same time, you're losing a lot, especially when it's immediately followed by that Gold Fury. It's going to be a lot more gold in their pockets as they bring that up to an 8,000 lead, continuing to try and push even further. There's one tier 2 left for you on your map as well. So at this point with Fire Giant, they're looking for Phoenixes, and they still have a minute and a half to do so.
Elevate just quadrupled that gold lead that they once had in about 4 or 5 minutes, which is exactly what they needed to do. Again, they really are playing against the clock, and that's why we see so much patience now out of SB, because this team knows if we can just buy ourselves enough time, we can actually counterplay all of this.
When we see Strictly Business, they are opting into the items they need to try and keep themselves alive. They all, like you mentioned earlier, 3 Stone of Gaia's now going to be online, and some physical protection coming through. I really like the Hide of the Nemean from Koiz, but it just hasn't really been enough to thwart Elevate at this point. They're still running forward. They're still fighting just as hard. And I feel like having DoctorL, even though he's the only magical damage, is a Hobwa. So that's a ton of damage coming out from it.
I'm waiting for the Midgardian males to start coming online. That's going to be a really important pickup. Double Hunter composition, Osiris as well, prospers off of those in hand, so slow him down in the process. And it's really just DoctorL. His Blink ultimates have got to be on point. That's what's going to be the real difference maker here.
Right now, Kenshin going to be going in looking potentially for a stun or at least some zoning so his team can go aggressive. But Kaeydan going to come crashing down and trying to turn this one around. The heal's going to be good to keep Kenshin alive a little bit, but Mythic's getting low. That through space and time was a perfect shot coming from oBoronic to be able to set that up. But Elevate just fall back, heal up, and they're perfectly fine to just kind of play the waiting game. They have a minute left until the Fire Giant respawns. They're about to lose it, so they aren't able to get a Phoenix with it, but they're not really worse for wear.
But this is so much better for Strictly Business because it just buys them time. That is really all SB have to do, is continuously buy themselves time until they keep building these defenses. And once the defenses are fully online, there won't be a whole lot that Elevate can do about it.
Especially when you're fighting under a Phoenix, which at this point I assume Strictly Business is, especially if they lose this next Fire Giant, going to be focusing under. But as it stands, Portal Demon started up. Elevate looking to control this one, no problem. They burst it out. Fire Giant coming in 30 seconds. This is where Strictly Business can kind of mount that fight. They've got a few more protections online to be able to fight into this. But again, Portal Demon, a lot kind of still sitting in favor of Elevate to be able to burst that down before they can react.
And oBoronic, although he's had a relatively quiet game so far in game number 2, it was really the unsung hero of that last Phoenix defense because of the fact that his through space and time managed to clip Mythic, taking out 3/4 of his health. There's just no way that Elevate's going to risk pushing into SB when one of their carries is that low.
Coming in, Fire Giants up now. Ryan, Jarman, Koiz, and Fatal Ghost all in the neighborhood, but getting zoned away by Nexamiss, who's just not going to let them gain the ground they need. It's going to be a second clean Fire Giant picked up for Elevate. They're going to turn their attention over to the right lane, try to push up the minions, find themselves the first Phoenix of the game. They're at 29 minutes in, 10-3. But like you said, there's a timer waiting on them. And as long as these items continue ticking up for Strictly Business, it's going to get harder for Elevate. It's going to become an uphill battle.
After how successful that last Phoenix defense was, it's not really any surprise to me that SB is trying to just run it back again. Nexamiss taking a little bit of damage, but Kenshin making it seem like it was nothing at all.
Now going in, the horse once again for Kenshin, trying to set up the rest of his team, but falling back, pushed away is going to be Elevate. The stun's good. DoctorL's caught out, and he ends up getting taken down. The rest of them all low. Mythic going to be able to get the root onto Fatal Ghost, which is going to stop that aggression from him for a little bit as the boulder comes down and still hits the backflip Neith. Still chasing him down. Oboronic's going to be able to catch up and shotgun you in the face to make sure you go down. And this is where Elevate are going to get turned around on. They have the Fire Giant, but this fight is just not clean.
The secondary sprint already popped from SB. They're just trying to catch up to Nexamiss and swarm him. Kenshin, though, trying to deal what damage he can with that Tallow Assault. Cameron as well on the back line, firing out in-hands left and right. Gonna actually cause Strictly Business to disengage, but losing 2 carries, Elevate, there's no way that Strictly Business don't punish them any further.
And a great position waiting from Ryan. Jarman's going to be able to get a push onto 2. No follow-up from his team to find the full kills, though, so they're not going to have much after that. And they have a lot to eat through on Strictly Business. As long as they can keep this kind of defense up, there's still 5 towers standing for Elevate they have to go through. They still have to deal with the fact that they're at the disadvantage, at least item-wise right now. But the longer this game goes on, the happier they're going to be.
And the longer this game goes on, the harder it's going to get for Elevate. Already seems pretty difficult as well if they're struggling this much trying to take down even one Phoenix.
And it's one of the hardest things sometimes is to get into that first Phoenix, but it's never usually met with such a wall response. You really are just kind of punching bricks at this point. It hurts your hand a little bit more than it's going to hurt the wall.
Strictly Business, though, are definitely still respecting Elevate when it comes to these jungle brawls because they just don't want to risk any of their members dying. In order for Strictly Business to continue having these successful defenses, all 5 members need to be there and ready to go.
Now 10-5, 31 minutes in, 10,000 gold still separates these two teams as Elevate are looking to, once again, try and siege down a Phoenix, which has so far been one of the hardest feats they've had to deal with this game. And still waiting on the other side. Strictly Business has all 5 ults. Kaeydan has been the one kind of turning the tides, comes crashing down, and at least stuns out a couple to set up the kills for his team. But once again, the horse comes through, and we're going to see Kenshin go in.
Cameron, though, with a great Aegis, but he's still trapped underneath that Phoenix. Thanks to Ryan. Jarman with the setup. Kenshin in a whole lot of trouble. DoctorL just getting completely destroyed by that through space and time.
Continuing the chase, Nexamiss portal down into the ground. The damage is coming through. He wants so badly to jump over, and he'll finally get it, but he's just going to get chased down. Oboronic and Fatal Ghost going to come with him. World Weaver coming down, and it will eventually get that stun as it takes a little bit of time to come from the base, but it's still set up perfectly. Nexamiss, all it needs is a stun, something to stop him from running. They won't be able to chase him. That's a 3-man wipe, and that is going to be Strictly Business taking one of the 5 remaining towers, looking for the tier 2 in mid.
Strictly Business didn't want to waste any more time. I love that pullback from Fatal Ghost and immediately responds to what the team call clearly is siege middle lane. 3 members still dead for another 20 seconds. Strictly Business can take this Phoenix.
Going in, they're having no issue so far. Even Nexamiss, who's trying to mount an issue, is just having trouble doing anything to his team as they focus out that Phoenix. They're going to come through. 5 members still strong, although Oboronic getting a little low, but the push is going to be good onto Nexamiss. We do see Mythic use those beads, backflip out to try and stay alive, but that was the tide turn. It was 10-5, now it's 10-8 as Strictly Business have been able to convert that 10k gold lead now down into about 5.
But the gold lead doesn't really matter right now. Most of these members, or most of these players, have already finished their builds or are just about to finish their builds. And for Elevate, they're sweating right now because there's only so much longer that they actually have to try and make this draft viable, and SB have just been shutting it down at every single corner.
Kaeydan still looking to go in, does come collapsing onto Nexamiss with the knockup coming from Ryan Jarman. He's going to try and set this up, but ultimately it might be a fight not worth fighting for Strictly Business at first. As Ryan Jarman's getting low, he's going to be the first to fall as DoctorL finds the water hands and pushes him down, and it's going to go get reset kind of back and forth. Portal Demon again restarted here by Elevate.
And Fire Giant spawning shortly after. 4v5 already But if I'm SB, I don't even care about this Fire Giant in the slightest. Just let it go. There's zero reason for SB to try and contest this when they've already been defending their Phoenixes with zero issues against a 5-man strong Fire Giant team.
Yeah, it's no reason to fight against something you've already defended against no problem. And Elevate looking to try and repeat it. It's 11-8 as they picked up the 1 kill. And with the 5-member Fire Giant push, they might be able to find something, but this is where we've seen the strength come down. Strictly Business still down Hercules for another 15 seconds, so that's going to be the big window, I feel, for Elevate, at least to have some lacking control, and they're going to take advantage of it. The Phoenix is already at half health, and no one on Strictly Business seems to retaliate just yet.
Can't blame Strictly Business. They didn't want to risk anybody else dying while Ryan Jarman was still waiting to respawn, but losing that right-hand Phoenix going to hurt just a little bit, though. Not too much, however, because of the fact that it is the Phoenix closest to that Fire Giant spawn.
Unfortunately, Elevate has been so focused on Portal Demon, Fire Giant, even the Phoenix, that now their Titan's taking a little bit of poke. It's not going to be a whole ton. It's not going to change the pace of it, but 2,000 health on the Titan can be a very big difference to try and eat through for Strictly Business. If it's already down, they don't have to worry as much about that. So continually pressuring that mid lane, continually pushing it down, and kind of keeping control to make sure that Elevate never have that strong leg up. It's going to keep them in that boat. It's now 35 minutes in, and like you said, most of these builds are pretty much done.
It seems as though Elevate still have the upper hand when it comes to the jungle fights, just because their Giraffe can cause a lot of chaos in numerous points. But for SB, there's just no way that they can't hold out underneath their own Phoenixes, because Elevate has nobody that can actually just absorb those Phoenix shots plus the damage out of Strictly Business.
Still setting up, trying to figure out where they want to strike next. It's really hard now at this point with Ryan Jarman alive and ready for Elevate to try and break through. Again, that wall that Strictly Business built up for the previous Phoenixes is rebuilt, and now it's holding pretty well.
Mid lane, there is a wave for Elevate if they want to try and push this, but with fire creeps being the main, I guess, barrier for Strictly Business, because of the fact that they just don't have to worry. Fire creeps are always going to be better than normal creeps.
And that's just mounting a better defense for them. That they don't even have to worry about the fact that Elevate want to break in here. Their fire minions are just pushing either them back, keeping them occupied, or stopping the minions. But Kenshin's going to go in. He's looking for the stun onto Ryan Jarman, who's getting bursted. But it's not going to be a lot in terms of a Hercules health bar, and comes crashing down. Kaeydan looking for the damage. The setup, the stun's going to be good, but he gets bursted out as DoctorL turns that one around.
That was a massive kill there, and DoctorL actually able to find the double kill onto oBoronic. This should be where SB falls.
Now they're looking to try and siege down this Phoenix, still finding Ryan Jarman looking for the push, but it's not going to be good. DoctorL showing the damage that Hoplock can do as they open up the Phoenix. The base has 2 wide doors open, and Elevator looking to close that one out no problem after they pick up a couple of kills. There were a few walls, a few bumps in the road, but they still come out on top.
It just was one of those moments where Strictly Business, they understood that they could not afford to lose any members, and they did immediately off of that engagement when they weren't able to find the kill. It should have been a hard reset. Instead, Elevate just throwing in the punish.
And when it came down to it, there was so much Strictly Business had that was going in their favor, but it just kept getting staggered by Elevate. It was a window to this time, and then they finally found themselves a lead. They push it back, and they continue to do so. And you can hear how happy Elevate is. And because of the way this is set up, both teams come out with a point, but that was a really big win for Elevate.
That was a massive win for Elevate, actually, not permitting those 3 points to go freely to Strictly Business, keeping them still at least pretty neck and neck for the start. That was only one of the second set for today, and you got to give huge shout outs to Elevate for keeping their composition. They stayed so composed throughout that, despite how grim it was really starting to look for them.
Showing us that the groups are going to be exactly as competitive as you would hope coming into the finals, but the desk is going to go over what went through in those last 2 games just to cover exactly how important it was for Elevate.
Thank you, Gore. Thank you, Taco. Back here on the desk with Finch, Tully, got Zaxa here with me as well, and I know some people who are definitely cheering the rest of that group, Tully, to see Strictly business, not get all 3 of those points.
That's right. Astral and Soar have to be very happy after that one. And a huge performance by Elevate. It was getting a little bit troublesome at the end there for them because I think they were having questions about how they were going to actually close the game out with their initiations.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple fights where DoctorL was just a little bit out of position, and they really needed his. I mean, he was the only magic damage dealer for Elevate late game, so they really needed his damage in those fights. When he was able to stay alive and get his damage off, Elevate just ran the table.
And it worked out for them in that last Metal Phoenix exchange because it was Kenshin initiating. They kind of did a fake half initiation, right? Kenshin, Guan Yu ulted, and then instantly peeled back trying to protect his backline with some of the sustain. They baited out Kaeydan on the Thor, getting a huge pick.
Yeah, every time it was Kenshin riding in on the horse and then just doing a U-turn right back to the team. And he was baiting out Ganesha ult, he was baiting out Hu-Yi ult, and then, you're just worrying about the Janus ult and Thor ult at that point. And once they should have realized that Oboronic didn't have Aegis. So that's a free, 800, 900 damage Neith ult late game. They just find Oboronic and isolate him. That's a huge pick to start the fights, what they were finally able to do towards that last fight.
And I'm glad you talked about that Neith, too, because Mythic looked really, really good on here to me, especially through that early game, Tolly. I felt like that was when, Elevate's comp really shined, and it was in large part thanks to his play out of that mid lane.
Yeah, between the double physical hunters here, Muzen and the Neith, it was working out a lot for them and with this Neith ultimate paired up. Not only that, some of their team fights lasted a little bit longer than it probably should have, considering how easy it was for Nexamiss to zone, Kenshin healing the backline. It was pretty well-rounded.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the Neith, I mean, it was just the ults were great early game. They literally just put Jarman, they isolated Jarman with the Neith ult. He gets a free Osiris ult off that for the anti-heal, and then straight into a Hebo ult, and he just melted. I mean, Jarman had like 3-4 deaths pretty early on in the game. So it was really good to get Nexamiss off to a good lead, and then that helped the Hebo also transition to the late game because Nexamiss was doing a lot on their backline, allowing the Hebo to do some free casting. So it was really good all around.
It's not a very common occurrence to have a Habwa jungle, but then you add that in the jungle, ganking the solo lane. That was really well executed because the solo laner normally doesn't build into tanky options this early on, especially into magical. Now because you're dealing with a physical solo laner and then a magical jungler, you have to kind of balance the two. Wasn't really too beneficial there. Jarman, got abused a little bit.
And you talk about DoctorL and the kind of impact he was able to have for him in that late game, but so is Cameron, man, on that Muzen cob. I mean, he was basically just free farming, it felt like, the whole game, and then when things got towards that mid-game, or mid to late game-ish time, he came in swinging for him. Talk to me a little bit about this Muzen cob that Jarman was piloting there, Zaxi.
I mean, going in, I had some doubts. SB had a very good comp to punish an immobile god like AMC, but when it came down to the team fights, Cameron kept his positioning, he kept his distance, and he was able to just, like you see here, he's able to just put in the damage from a safe distance. And Kenshin did a great job peeling back and shelling Cameron, healing Cameron whenever he was in trouble. But I think all around, Cameron played the AMC very well. With
the exception of that one left side Phoenix siege where he actually went in without the bees. He got Hercules pluck, which actually slowed down some of the aggression from that Fire Giant siege, but luckily for them, they got a third chance.
Well, that was the way that game ended up, and as we saw, Elevate able to come back out and even up that set totally, so pretty big. They were both able to get 1 point from that. In fact, Taco's actually standing by, and she's got an interview for us.
That I am. Thank you so much, Finch. And I am standing here actually with DoctorL, probably one of the stars from that last game. How are you feeling after that Habwa match?
I'm feeling great. SB's a really good team, and we were really happy to get a game off them. It was really close.
Okay, I know a lot of people are probably sweating there watching you guys towards the end, and it can be really risky. So when you're a team facing with that 4 physical hunters, what made you guys try and risk everything with the 4 physical draft?
Well, I think we figured Hebo would do enough damage. Like, it is one mage, but it's Hebo. He has 3 ults in his kit, so... Yeah, I think it'd be that big of a problem, especially since they were doing the hard dive comps like the first game, so I knew I could always get in the backline if I needed to and just go on the carries.
Well, you certainly managed to find your way into the backline, and with Elevate receiving that point, how are you guys feeling for the rest of your matches, considering that you do have that point, but I know you guys are probably looking for those 3 points?
Yeah, you really need the 2-0s in this group. I think this group is going to be very competitive. But we're feeling really good. I think SB is a really, really good team, and we played well enough to at least get a point off them. So I think we're in a good spot now.
Outside of strictly business, who do you think is one of your bigger competitors in this group?
For sure, Obey. They don't play the greatest online, but they always show up on land. Mifflin's going to be yelling at me the whole game, so I got to be ready for that. Yep.
And I mean, like we mentioned, congratulations to you and your team. You guys did a really excellent job in that last match. Are there any particular shout-outs that you may want to give after that victory?
Shout-outs to my boy Cam. The first game was rough for him, but he really came back and held his own in the second game when we needed him most.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Elevate feeling pretty good after splitting against Strictly Business. Should be a lot more exciting SEL matches coming up shortly here after this next break.